The night was quiet, and the streets of the small city were almost empty. A young man named Daniel walked back home after finishing his food delivery shift. He carried an old backpack and listened to the sound of his own steps on the wet pavement. He was tired, and his body ached from riding his bike all day. When he crossed the alley near the junk shop, something shiny caught his eyes. At first, he thought it was just a broken toy dropped by a child. It was half buried under a pile of trash, glowing faintly with a pale blue light. Daniel stopped and bent down to pick it up. The object felt smooth and heavy in his hand, like metal, but it was warm, almost alive. It was shaped like a sphere with strange carvings running across its surface. They looked like letters, but not from any language he knew. He pressed his thumb on one of the markings. For a brief moment, the entire sphere lit up brighter, and he felt a sharp pulse inside his chest. He gasped and almost dropped it, but the light faded quickly, leaving only a faint glow. He looked around. The alley was silent, no one watching. He laughed nervously to himself. "Strange toy," he whispered, shoving it into his backpack. It could be worth something. Maybe he could sell it to the junk shop owner. He did not know that by taking it, his life had already changed. When Daniel reached his small apartment, he placed the sphere on his table. His cat, a lazy orange tabby, walked over and sniffed it before hissing and running away. Daniel frowned. The object gave off a soft hum, a vibration that filled the room. He sat on his bed and stared at it. Maybe it's some kind of gadget, he thought. He tapped it again, and this time a thin beam of light shot out, painting strange symbols in the air. Daniel jumped back, his heart racing. The symbols rotated, forming shapes of planets and stars. It was like a map, alive and moving. His phone buzzed with a message, but he ignored it. His eyes were locked on the light floating above the relic. He waved his hand through the symbols, and they reacted, shifting as if they were aware of his touch. Suddenly, one of the symbols flared and turned red. Daniel felt a jolt of pain in his head, and a voice whispered inside his mind. It was not in English, not in any language he knew, yet somehow he understood the meaning. Chosen. He stumbled back, clutching his head. The word echoed in his skull until the light vanished, and the sphere returned to its faint glow. Breathing hard, he stared at it with wide eyes. "What the hell are you?" he whispered. He tried to push the sphere aside and convince himself it was just a strange machine. But when he lay down on his bed, he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw visions. A battlefield under two suns, soldiers in strange armor holding glowing weapons, and a massive creature reaching for the same sphere now resting on his table. The dream felt real. He could smell the smoke, hear the screams, and feel the heat of fire around him. Then, in the middle of the chaos, a tall alien with silver skin turned to him and pointed, saying in a deep voice, "You must protect it." Daniel woke up with sweat covering his body. He sat up and found the sphere glowing brighter than before. The markings shifted as if alive, rearranging themselves. He reached out slowly, and the warmth spread through his hand again. This time it was not painful. It felt comforting, like the object was alive and breathing with him. The clock on the wall ticked past midnight, but Daniel could not take his eyes off the relic. His cat refused to return to the room, hiding under the couch with its fur standing up. The city outside was quiet, but Daniel felt as if unseen eyes were watching him through the walls. He closed the curtains and locked his door. The relic pulsed once, twice, like a heartbeat, and he felt his own chest sinking with it. He thought about throwing it away, leaving it outside in the trash where he found it, but a strange pull inside him said no. It belonged with him now. He couldn't explain it, but he knew it. The word chosen still echoed in his mind. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the sphere, and whispered, "Why me?" The relic gave no answer, only a soft hum that filled the room. Daniel leaned forward, his tired eyes heavy, and for a moment he swore he saw the carvings glow brighter, forming a shape of a human hand reaching out to his. His own hand trembled as he reached back. Outside, far beyond Earth, signals spread through the void of space. The relic's awakening had been detected. Ships moved, hunters stirred, and old enemies opened their eyes. But Daniel knew nothing of this. He only knew that what he thought was a toy was alive, and it had chosen him. Daniel woke up late the next morning, his head heavy and his body stiff. Sunlight filtered through the thin curtains of his apartment, but the first thing his eyes searched for was the strange sphere on the table. It was still there, glowing faintly, as if it had not dimmed even once during the night. He sat up slowly, rubbed his face, and stared at it with a mix of fear and curiosity. He wanted to believe it was just a gadget, a trick, something explainable. But deep down, he knew it was more. When he picked it up, warmth flowed into his palm again. The carvings shifted, moving like liquid metal, forming patterns he had never seen before. He whispered, "What do you want from me?" The relic responded with a sudden pulse of light. A thin veil of energy spread over his hand like a glove, transparent but strong. Startled, he waved his arm, and the energy followed, humming softly. His heart pounded as he touched the edge of the wooden table. The energy flared, and the wood hissed with smoke. He dropped the relic instantly, his breath catching in his throat. The energy faded, leaving the table slightly burned. He stood frozen, staring at his hand. It wasn't possible. It couldn't be real. But the evidence was there, black marks on the wood. He whispered, "This is not a toy." His phone buzzed again, reminding him of his shift. He ignored it and paced around the room. He needed answers. He thought of taking the relic to the junk shop, maybe even the university science department. But a strange feeling inside him resisted. He remembered the dream, the alien soldier, the voice telling him to protect it. What if someone tried to take it away? He felt a chill at the thought. Daniel stuffed the relic back into his backpack before heading outside. The streets were busy now, filled with people going about their day. But for him, everything felt different. His eyes searched the crowd as if expecting someone to be watching him. And maybe someone was. He did not notice the pair of strangers standing at the corner, dressed in long coats, their eyes too sharp, too focused. They weren't human, not completely. At a red light, Daniel stopped with his bike, his mind still on the relic. He felt a vibration in his backpack, a hum that grew stronger. He glanced back nervously. No one else seemed to notice. Then the whisper came again inside his mind, faint but clear. Danger close. His chest tightened. He turned his head, scanning the street, and his eyes locked with one of the strangers. Their gaze was cold, unblinking. Daniel's stomach twisted. He pushed harder on the pedal, speeding away. The strangers followed. They moved too smoothly, their steps too fast for normal people. Daniel glanced back and saw them pushing through the crowd with unnatural ease. Fear surged through him. He turned into a narrow alley, hoping to lose them. But as he reached the middle, one of them appeared at the other end, blocking his path. Daniel skidded to a stop, his bike almost slipping. The stranger stepped forward, his coat shifting to reveal a metallic arm underneath. His voice was calm but chilling. "The relic. Give it to us." Daniel's heart raced. He tightened his grip on the backpack strap. "It's mine," he said, though his voice shook. The second stranger dropped from the rooftop behind him, landing without a sound. Daniel was trapped. Panic took over, and without thinking, he pulled the relic from the bag. It pulsed, brighter this time, as if sensing the threat. The carvings rearranged, and the sphere floated out of his hands, hovering in the air. Energy spilled from it, wrapping around Daniel like a shield. The strangers paused, their expressions twisting into something close to fear. One of them hissed, "Impossible. A human cannot activate it." Daniel didn't understand what was happening, but he knew one thing. The relic was protecting him. When the first stranger lunged, the shield flared. A burst of force exploded outward, throwing the attacker against the wall with a crash. The second rushed in, but Daniel raised his hand instinctively. A beam of light shot forward, striking the ground and splitting the concrete. The stranger stopped, eyes wide. Breathing heavily, Daniel stared at his glowing hand. The shield faded slowly, and the relic dropped back into his palm. The two strangers retreated, muttering words in a language he didn't understand. But their eyes promised they would return. Daniel stumbled back onto his bike, gripping the relic tightly. His whole body shook with fear and adrenaline. He pedaled hard, not caring where he was going, only knowing he had to escape. The relic was no toy. It was a weapon, a key, maybe something far greater, and now others wanted it. As he turned onto an empty road, the relic pulsed once more in his hand. The whisper returned, louder this time, carrying a warning. More are coming. Daniel swallowed hard, his eyes on the horizon. His life was no longer ordinary. The strange toy had chosen him, and there was no turning back. Daniel barely made it back to his apartment before his legs gave up. He dropped his bike against the wall and locked the door with trembling hands. His chest rose and fell quickly, his palms sweaty, the relic still glowing faintly in his grip. He slid down onto the floor, his back pressed against the door, trying to calm his pounding heart. His mind replayed the alley again and again. The strangers with inhuman speed, their metallic arms, and the way they demanded the relic like it belonged to them. He wanted to believe it was just a nightmare, but the scorch marks on the ground, the cracked concrete, and the memory of the shield proved otherwise. He whispered, "What do you want from me?" But the relic stayed silent this time, only humming faintly as if alive, but resting. Daniel forced himself up and moved to the kitchen sink. He splashed water on his face, gripping the counter to steady himself. His reflection in the cracked mirror above the sink didn't look like him anymore. His eyes were wide, his skin pale, and his hands still tingled from the light that had burst out of him. He didn't feel normal. He didn't feel safe. The thought came quickly. He should get rid of it. Throw the relic into the river, bury it deep where no one could ever find it. But even as he thought this, his chest tightened painfully. The word chosen echoed again in his mind. He knew he couldn't let it go, no matter how much he wanted to. That night, sleep refused to come. Every time Daniel's eyes closed, he saw visions. Planets spinning in darkness, alien ships locked in war, and a towering figure with silver skin staring at him with eyes like burning stars. "Protect it," the figure said again and again until Daniel woke with a gasp. The relic sat on his table, glowing brighter now, as if feeding from his fear. Suddenly, a noise broke through the silence, a faint scrape at his window. Daniel froze, his heart thundering. Slowly, he turned his head. At first, he saw nothing but shadows, but then two glowing yellow eyes peered through the glass. He stumbled back, knocking over a chair. The eyes blinked, and the outline of one of the strangers appeared, clinging to the wall like a predator. Daniel grabbed the relic without thinking. The carvings lit up instantly, wrapping his arm in light. The shield spread across his body, humming with power. A second later, the window shattered, and the stranger leapt inside, moving fast. Daniel raised his hand and energy burst outward, sending the intruder crashing into the far wall. The apartment shook with the impact. Before he could breathe, another figure appeared at the door, kicking it open with unnatural force. Daniel turned and aimed instinctively. A beam shot from his hand, grazing the stranger and leaving a smoking trail across his coat. The alien hissed in pain and stepped back. The relic pulsed faster, guiding Daniel's movements as if it knew what to do even when he didn't. His fear turned into something else, raw survival. He struck again, sending the second attacker stumbling into the hallway. They hissed words in their strange language before retreating into the night. Daniel collapsed onto his knees, the shield flickering and fading. His apartment was a mess, glass on the floor, smoke rising from the cracked wall, the door hanging off its hinges. His neighbors would have heard, maybe even seen, but strangely the building was silent. No one came to help. It felt like the world had turned its eyes away, leaving him alone with this nightmare. The relic dimmed slowly in his hand, its carvings cooling back to a dull glow. Daniel stared at it, breathing hard, his body shaking from exhaustion. "Why me?" He whispered again. The relic gave no words, but he felt something deep inside his chest, an understanding. It wasn't random. It had chosen him for a reason. Later that night, Daniel sat on the roof of the building, the relic on his lap. The city lights stretched out around him, but he felt smaller than ever. He knew the strangers would be back, and next time they might bring more. He thought about going to the police, the army, anyone who could fight them. But what could he say? That a glowing alien sphere was hiding in his apartment and hunters from the stars were chasing him? No one would believe him until it was too late. As the wind brushed his face, the relic pulsed once, and for a moment, Daniel saw a vision. Dozens of ships breaking through Earth's atmosphere. Hunters searching the cities, humans screaming and running. Then the vision shifted to him, standing alone with the relic in his hand, a shield protecting people behind him. His stomach twisted, but his heart beat stronger. He didn't want to be a hero. He didn't want this responsibility. Yet, he had no choice. Far away in the night sky beyond human sight, signals had already spread. The relic's activation had alerted others, powerful ones. A fleet stirred, preparing to move. And though Daniel didn't know it yet, the battle for the relic had only just begun. Daniel spent the next morning repairing the broken door with whatever scraps he could find. His body felt heavy, and his mind was clouded, but he kept working. Every hammer strike echoed through the empty hallway. He kept looking over his shoulder, expecting the strangers to return at any moment. The relic sat on the table nearby, glowing softly like it was watching him. He didn't want to touch it, but at the same time, he couldn't stay away from it. After patching the door, Daniel sat with a cup of cold coffee in his hand, staring at the relic. "You've ruined my life," he muttered. Yet when he tried to imagine throwing it away, his chest ached again, the same painful pull he had felt before. He sighed and rubbed his eyes. "You won't let me go, will you?" The carvings shimmered faintly, as if answering. He decided to leave the apartment for a while. The walls felt like they were closing in on him. He slipped the relic into his backpack and went out into the busy streets. People walked past him, talking, laughing, carrying groceries and bags, unaware of the silent war that had touched his life. Daniel felt like he didn't belong anymore. At the park, he sat on a bench and watched kids play. Their laughter sounded far away. He reached into his bag, touched the relic, and immediately visions flooded his mind. He saw planets burning, alien soldiers fighting, and the relic glowing in the hands of warriors long dead. One image burned brighter than the rest. A massive alien queen, her eyes fixed on him as she whispered, "Protector." He gasped and pulled his hand away. The visions vanished, leaving him sweating and trembling. He didn't notice the man who had been sitting on a nearby bench, watching him carefully. The man wore ordinary clothes, but his eyes were sharp and his movements too precise. "Rough day?" the man said, standing and walking closer. Daniel froze. His instincts screamed at him. He gripped his bag tighter. "Who are you?" The man raised his hands calmly. "Not your enemy. My name is Kale. I'm not human, but I'm not like the hunters chasing you." His voice was steady, low, almost soothing. "You've activated the relic, haven't you?" Daniel's breath caught. "How do you know about it?" Kale's eyes darkened. "Because that relic is older than your world. It belonged to my people before your species ever walked on Earth. It was lost in a great war, hidden here, waiting for a worthy host. And now it has chosen you." Daniel shook his head. "I don't want it. I didn't ask for this." Kale stepped closer, lowering his voice. "That doesn't matter. The moment you touched it, the relic bonded with you. You are connected now. And because of that, the hunters will not stop until you are dead or until they take it from your body." Daniel felt his stomach twist. "Why me? Why would it choose a food delivery guy? I'm nobody." Kale studied him for a moment. "The relic does not see rank or power. It sees something deeper. It saw in you what others cannot." He paused. "But know this, its gift is not free. The more you use it, the more it changes you. Your strength will grow, but so will the burden. In the end, it might consume you." The words hit Daniel harder than he expected. He looked down at his bag, feeling the weight of the relic inside. He whispered, "Then what am I supposed to do?" Kale leaned closer. "You must learn, train, control it before it controls you. If not, Earth will burn." Before Daniel could answer, a loud crash echoed from the street. People screamed, running in panic. Daniel turned and saw 3 of the hunters forcing their way into the park. Their metallic arms gleamed, their yellow eyes scanning the crowd. One of them pointed directly at him. Kale cursed under his breath. "Too late. They've found you." Daniel's heart raced as the hunters charged. Kale pushed him back. "Use it," he shouted, "or you won't live long enough to regret it." Daniel grabbed the relic. It flared to life instantly, wrapping him in the shimmering shield. The hunters rushed in, their claws tearing the ground. Daniel raised his hand, and beams of energy burst outward, striking 2 of them and throwing them across the grass. The third one lunged, moving too fast, but Kale intercepted, drawing a strange curved blade that hummed with energy. The fight turned the park into chaos. Trees split, benches shattered, the air filled with screams. Daniel struggled to control the relic. Each blast of energy felt like fire burning through his veins, but he forced himself to keep going. He couldn't let them win. One hunter grabbed him, slamming him to the ground. Daniel gasped, the shield flickering. The relic pulsed wildly. and a surge of power exploded from his body, blasting the hunter into pieces of smoke and metal. Daniel stared in horror at what he had just done, his chest heaving. Kale fought the last attacker, striking fast, his blade cutting through the alien's armor. With a final cry, the hunter collapsed, sparks flying. Silence returned, broken only by the cries of fleeing people in the distance. Daniel lay on the ground, clutching the relic. His body shook from exhaustion. Kale stood over him, his blade dripping with strange liquid. "This is only the beginning," Kale said. "The relic has awakened fully now. Others will come, stronger ones. You need to decide if you'll run forever or if you'll fight." Daniel looked at the relic glowing in his hand. His world was gone. His ordinary life was gone. And deep down, he knew there was no running anymore. Daniel followed Kale through the dark back streets, far away from the chaos of the park. His legs were weak, his breath unsteady, and every step made him feel heavier. The relic pulsed inside his bag, warm against his back, as if reminding him it was still there. Kale walked ahead, calm and steady, his strange curved blade strapped across his back. He didn't look tired at all. Finally, they reached an abandoned warehouse near the edge of the city. The broken windows and rusted doors made it look like no one had been there for years. Kale pushed open the door and stepped inside. "We can rest here," he said. Daniel entered slowly, glancing around. The place smelled of dust and oil. Old machines sat covered in cobwebs, and the wind whistled through the cracks in the walls. Daniel dropped his bag and sat on a crate, burying his face in his hands. "This is insane," he whispered. "Aliens, relics, hunters. I'm just a delivery guy. Why me?" Kale crouched in front of him, his sharp eyes calm but serious. "The relic doesn't care about what you were before. It only cares about what you can become. That's why it chose you." Daniel shook his head. "I can't fight them. Did you see me back there? I almost died. If it wasn't for you, I'd be dead." Kale's lips pressed into a thin line. "You survived because the relic reacted to your will. That blast that destroyed the hunter? That was you. The relic amplifies what you already have inside." Daniel looked at him, his voice trembling. "Then why does it hurt? Every time I use it, I feel like my body is on fire." Kale stood and walked toward an old metal table. He placed his hand on it and pressed something hidden beneath his sleeve. A small device lit up, projecting a faint blue hologram. Strange symbols floated in the air. "Because you're untrained," Kale said. "Your body is not ready. The relic pours its power into you, and your human form struggles to contain it. But with time, with control, you can adapt. You can become stronger than you ever imagined." Daniel stared at the hologram, the symbols spinning. They looked like the same carvings on the relic. "So, this has happened before? Others used it?" Kale nodded slowly. "Long ago, it belonged to the Guardians, a warrior order sworn to protect civilizations from destruction. The relic chose their leaders. But in the last Great War, the order fell. The relic was lost, scattered across the stars, until now." He looked directly at Daniel. "The hunters will not stop. They serve masters who want the relic for themselves. If they succeed, your planet will burn." Daniel's stomach twisted. He had seen the vision already. Ships in the sky, fire raining down on cities. He clenched his fists. "Then what do I do?" Kale's answer was simple. "You fight, and I will train you." The next few days blurred together. Kale pushed Daniel to his limits. They trained inside the warehouse at night, when the city was asleep. At first, Daniel could barely summon the shield without falling to his knees. Every attempt left him exhausted, sweat pouring down his face. But Kale was relentless. "Again," he demanded. "You cannot hesitate. The relic reacts to your mind. If you doubt, it weakens." Daniel gritted his teeth, forcing himself to focus. Slowly, the shield grew stronger, lasting longer. He learned to channel energy into blasts without losing control. The relic began to feel less like a weight and more like a part of him. Yet every time he used it, he sensed something deeper, like a voice waiting to speak, a presence inside the relic watching him. One night, after hours of training, Daniel collapsed on the floor, gasping. I can't do this anymore," he said. Kale knelt beside him. "You can. You must. Do you think the hunters will give you a choice? They will return with armies. Every moment you waste brings them closer." Daniel stared at the ceiling, his chest heaving. He wanted to quit, to run, to hide. But then he remembered the people in the park, the children screaming, the visions of cities burning. His fists tightened. He pushed himself up, his legs shaking. Again, he said through clenched teeth. Kale's expression softened for the first time. Good. By the end of the week, Daniel could summon the shield in a breath. He could release beams of light that split steel beams in half. His body still ached after every session, but he was learning to endure the pain. The relic no longer felt like a stranger. It felt like a partner. But peace didn't last. One night, as Daniel and Kale sat in silence, the relic pulsed violently. A wave of energy shook the walls of the warehouse. Daniel clutched it, his chest tightening as visions filled his head. Dozens of ships entering Earth's orbit, shadows falling across the planet. The whisper came again, louder this time, echoing in his skull. They are here. Kale's face darkened as he looked toward the sky. The fleet has arrived, he said grimly. Daniel felt the blood drain from his face. The training, the fights, the warnings. It had all been leading to this. The hunters weren't coming anymore. They were already here. The sky above the city was no longer normal. At first, people thought it was a storm. Strange lights flashed in the clouds, and a low hum rolled across the night. But Daniel knew better. Standing on the roof of the warehouse with Kale, he saw the dark shapes breaking through the clouds. Massive ships, their hulls glowing with alien fire. They were not hiding anymore. The fleet had come. Daniel gripped the relic tight in his hand. It pulsed violently, almost burning his skin, as if it was alive and terrified. His chest felt heavy, and his heart pounded harder than ever. They're here for me, he whispered. Kale's jaw tightened. Not only you, for Earth. Once they take the relic, nothing will stop them from enslaving your world. The city below began to panic. Alarms rang, cars crashed, and people screamed as the ships hovered above. Beams of light shot down, carrying squads of hunters into the streets. Their metallic arms gleamed, their movements fast and ruthless. Daniel could hear gunfire from somewhere far away, but he knew normal weapons would not be enough. He looked at Kale, fear in his eyes. I can't fight an army. Kale placed a firm hand on his shoulder. You won't fight them all, but you can fight the ones that come for you. The relic will guide you, if you trust it. Do not resist its call. Before Daniel could answer, a sudden explosion tore through a nearby building. A squad of hunters appeared on the rooftop across from them, their glowing eyes fixed on Daniel. One of them raised a weapon, a strange rifle humming with energy. Kale pushed Daniel aside just as a bolt of light cut through the air, melting the wall where Daniel had stood. Run! Kale shouted. Daniel clutched the relic. Instantly, the shield wrapped around him. Another blast struck, but the shield absorbed it, humming with force. Daniel stumbled but stayed on his feet. Kale charged forward, his curved blade flashing. He met the hunters in combat, striking fast, his blade cutting through their armor. Sparks flew as metal clashed. Daniel felt the relic pulling at him, urging him to act. He raised his hand, and a beam of light burst out, striking one of the hunters and sending it crashing into the rooftop. His arm shook with the effort, but the power surged again, stronger this time. The relic wasn't draining him, it was feeding him, like filling him with something beyond human. The fight spread to the streets. Hunters chased humans, pulling them from cars, dragging them through alleys. Daniel's stomach twisted at the sight, and rage pushed through his fear. He leapt down from the roof, the shield glowing around him. He landed hard but safe, the relic's power cushioning him. Hunters turned toward him, weapons ready. Come on! Daniel shouted, though his voice shook. 3 hunters charged. Daniel thrust his arm forward, and a wave of energy burst outward, knocking them off their feet. They scrambled to rise, but he was already moving. His shield flared as he punched one of them, sending it crashing into a wall. Another swung its metallic claws at him, but the shield caught the strike. Sparks flying. Daniel gritted his teeth and released another blast, burning a hole straight through the alien's chest. He stood over the fallen hunters, breathing hard. For the first time, he saw fear in their glowing eyes. Above, Kale fought like a storm, his blade cutting down the last of the rooftop attackers. He landed beside Daniel, his face grim. They're testing you. The stronger you get, the more they'll send. Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead, his hands still trembling. I can't keep this up forever. You don't have to, Kale said. You only have to survive long enough for the relic to show its true purpose. Suddenly, the relic pulsed brighter than ever. The carvings on its surface shifted wildly, forming new symbols. A beam of light shot into the sky, piercing the clouds. The massive ships above stirred, turning toward the signal. Daniel felt a voice echo in his mind, deeper than before, louder than ever. Protector. Destiny. War begins. The ground shook as more hunters descended from the ships, dozens of them landing across the city. The streets filled with chaos. Humans ran in every direction, their screams mixing with the alien war cries. Fire spread from building to building. It was no longer just an attack on him. It was an invasion. Daniel looked around, horror filling him. They're going to destroy everything. Kale's eyes burned with determination. Not if we fight back. He raised his blade, pointing at the hunters closing in from every side. Stand tall, Daniel. This is your world. Make them fear it. Daniel gripped the relic tight. The shield flared around him again, brighter than ever before. His fear didn't vanish, but something stronger pushed past it. Anger, resolve, and a burning need to protect. He took a step forward as the hunters charged, his voice steady now. I'm done running. The relic pulsed, answering him. Light surged across his body, and the ground shook with the power rising inside him. The hunters roared, but for the first time, Daniel wasn't afraid of them. He was ready. Flames rose high into the night sky as the city burned. Alien ships hovered above, dropping more hunters into the streets. Their metallic feet crushed cars, their weapons tore through buildings, and humans screamed as they ran for safety. Daniel stood in the middle of the chaos, the relic pulsing in his grip like a living heart. The shield around him glowed brighter than ever, humming with power that shook the ground beneath his feet. Kale fought beside him, his curved blade cutting down hunters one after another. But there were too many. For every hunter that fell, two more appeared. Daniel clenched his jaw, sweat and dust covering his face. He knew this wasn't just another fight. This was the final test. One of the giant ships shifted above, opening its underbelly. A massive figure descended, larger than any hunter Daniel had seen before. Its body was covered in heavy armor, its eyes glowing red, and its claws sharp enough to slice through steel. The ground cracked when it landed, and even Kale stepped back. That is their commander, Kale said, his voice grim. If you defeat him, the hunters will fall into chaos. But if you fail, Earth will be lost. Daniel's stomach twisted, but he raised the relic, feeling the shield grow stronger around him. The commander's voice rumbled like thunder. Human, it growled, you hold what belongs to us. Hand over the relic, and your world will suffer less. Daniel's fear burned away, replaced by anger. He thought of the children in the park, the families running through the streets, the visions of Earth burning. He tightened his grip on the relic and shouted, "It's not yours!" The commander roared and charged. The ground shook with each step as its claws came down. Daniel raised his shield, the impact exploding like thunder. He slid back, his arms shaking, but the shield held. He gritted his teeth and thrust his hand forward. A beam of energy shot out, slamming into the commander's chest. The alien staggered but didn't fall. It laughed, a deep metallic sound. You are strong for a human, the commander said, but the relic will consume you. You cannot control it. Daniel's chest ached, his veins burning with energy. He knew the commander wasn't lying. The relic's power was too much, threatening to tear him apart from the inside. But he also knew he couldn't stop. He screamed and unleashed another wave of energy, this time stronger, brighter. The blast sent the commander crashing through a burning building. Kale shouted, "Do not stop! Push harder!" The commander burst from the rubble, roaring, its armor cracked but its body still strong. It leapt at Daniel, claws flashing. Daniel raised his shield just in time, but the force sent him flying across the street. He slammed into a wall, the shield flickering. His chest burned, his body shaking, but the relic pulsed again, urging him to rise. Visions filled his mind. Ancient warriors holding the relic, standing against impossible odds. He saw their faces, their battles, their sacrifices. And then he heard the same voice that had haunted his dreams, stronger than ever. Protector, chosen. Do not fall. Daniel staggered to his feet. He screamed and let the relic's power pour into him. Light exploded around his body, wrapping him in a full suit of glowing armor. His eyes blazed like fire, his voice shaking the air. This ends now! The commander swung again, but Daniel caught the claws with his shielded arm. The force cracked the street beneath them. Daniel punched forward with his free hand, and a blast of energy tore through the commander's chest. The alien roared in pain, stumbling back. Daniel didn't let up. He charged, each step shaking the ground, and struck again and again. Light burst with every hit, tearing away the commander's armor. Finally, with a last scream, Daniel unleashed everything the relic had given him. A massive wave of energy erupted, blinding the night sky. The commander was consumed in the explosion, its body turning to ash. Silence fell. The hunters froze, their glowing eyes dimming. One by one, they collapsed, their bodies crumbling without their leader. Above, the massive ships shuddered. Without command, they turned away, retreating into the clouds. Daniel fell to his knees, the armor fading, the relic dimming in his hand. His chest heaved, his body trembling with exhaustion. The city was broken, but it was not destroyed. People slowly emerged from hiding, their eyes wide with disbelief as they looked at the human who had faced the invaders alone. Kale walked over, his blade dripping with alien blood. He looked down at Daniel with a rare smile. "You did it," he said quietly. "You proved them wrong. Humans are not weak. You are the protector the relic saw." Daniel stared at the relic, its glow faint but steady. He felt its warmth, not as a burden now, but as a bond. He whispered, "Then I'll keep protecting, as long as it takes." The relic pulsed once in his hand like a heartbeat, as if it understood. Above them, the sky cleared, the stars shining bright again. For the first time, Daniel felt hope. The war was not over, but Earth had a chance, and he was ready to fight for it.